Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Good morning. I'm Maokpe Ogun Yusuf.
Okay, it's the 5th of December. A beautiful Monday morning. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
Well, since that slot is sticky, what else can I say? Good morning and welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Well, I thought you were going to say, hey, Buki, that's plagiarism. What's going on here? But in any case, well, Ayo has a traffic advisory for us. He wants us to all drive to stay alive this Ember month. Okay, well, that is understandable. As a matter of fact, well, Buki, since you're the latest person to apply that Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, concerning from a distance, really. So what's the road looking like these days anyways?
Well, Chamberlain, you know that as far as Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, all parameters of timeliness and safety have defied the usual meaning. So today, it's a bit better, even though you have to spend between 30 to 45 minutes, inside the traffic. Traffic started somewhere closer to Kara. That's the point where the cordon has been laid, which has narrowed the road to about 2 lanes for two vehicles to be able to maneuver through. So
which was previously for 4 lane.
Yes, initially for 4 lanes.
Okay.
So between 30 to 45 minutes and you'll be out of the traffic and you sail through to your destination. But then again, for those who are going further down to the other areas where you usually have traffic, that's Baga, Ojodu Baga bus stop, still on the same expressway, and further down to Secretariat, well, they'll have to let us know what the traffic situation looks like. How it is impacting on availability of fuel, that's what we do not know, because the setback doesn't have much traffic and the filling stations are not yet open, so we really don't know how it's impacting on traffic. Perhaps until we begin to see those who are available to sell this morning, then we'll know whether it's impacting on traffic, whether there's a tailback, just close to on the lane that leads to filling stations. But pretty much it's sane today, compared to other days where you spend between 2 to 3 hours inside the traffic. But Ayo has, the safety advisory for us this morning.
Well, since you talked about the other wing of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, I could just mention that what was responsible for the long tailback, which sometimes stretches as far as that Kara point that you mentioned, Bukola, has been taken away now because the barriers, the dividers have been removed. That portion of the road between Otedola Bridge and the Secretariat have been completed for now. Maybe there's still 1 or 2 other little things, but to be done, perhaps not this year, but largely taken care of. And the small potholes between Otedola Bridge and Berger have also been fairly taken care of for now. Well, now, there are those who will be wondering, why is the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway that important? Why are we talking about it? Is it just because we're in Lagos? Perhaps not. If you do a simple Google search, you would know that it's one of the most important arterial roads in Nigeria, and it serves pretty much every part of the country. And I'm almost certain that every part of this country where roadworks are being done, whether by the federal government or state governments at various levels, they are having their own fair issues as well. But what's important, and perhaps the reason we're talking about this, is for us to be conscious, especially on the roads. Of course, the FRC is going to come out anytime from now to tell us, advise us how we should use the roads as we travel. For those of us who are going to be relocating from one area of Nigeria to other parts, when you get to the roads, just be conscious. Be safety conscious. The places that you don't know, find out what's going on the roads before you ply them. You can begin to plan now. when you're going to travel and all of those things. This, for instance, is an experience that some people are having. How many of such things you find in different parts of the country at this moment, we don't know. Of course, the Federal Ministry of Works.
Just to add, Ayo, that those pillars are the cordons that have narrowed the road to just enough space for 2 vehicles to ply. So those pillars, according to the Federal Emergency Road Management Agency in charge, will be removed, I think, on December the 15th.
Exactly, yes.
But then again, what are they doing within this time available to work with? Time counts as far as infrastructure work is concerned. You know, this is a big waste of time, and it also speaks to poor management that we saw at the start of the construction. So there's no point, you know, leaving the construction site when you're not ready to remove the pillars, you know. So this is making room for difficulty for those who are applying the expressway to ply when the contractors would have been working on the site.
Well, perhaps, of course, as you have also mentioned, those dividers are going to be removed for until next year, even though, of course, what we had before was that it will be completed and delivered before this year is over. Anyway, that aside, so it's just for us to be conscious wherever we are, on the roads in particular, irrespective of whatever it is. And then when you go from a known location to an unknown location, your security consciousness is extremely important.
Absolutely.
Please, even when you have the new Naira notes, don't flaunt it too much. Who knows? And
then check your vehicles before you set out every other day. Your vehicle, your tire, your engine work, everything that needs to be checked before you set out. You know, we can't see that enough.
Yeah, and you need money to do some of those things. I know that the new Naira Notes parts caught your attention, Chamberlain.
Oh, I'm going to go ahead.
Well,
I just trying to set me up.
And I was happily going to let you be set up, but let's rescue you. Oh, well, I'm looking forward to the new Naira note, whether recolored, redesigned. I'm looking forward to receiving it in every way, shape, and form this particular season.
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
I'm looking for, of course I have to look for it.
I mean, that's
else I'll be cash strapped. Who wants to be cash strapped this period, this season?
Certainly not me. Anyways, you guys are right on the money when you say that people need to be careful. Because, you know, there are so many reasons why we have accidents on our roads. Why our roads are killing more people than even all the insecurity brouhaha we have put together. You know, more people are dying on our roads from driving on our roads. And it's not just because the roads are bad. I mean, we've seen people also kill themselves on really, really good roads. So we enjoin everybody, do not drive as the road dictates. If the road is smooth and good, do not fire down like as if you're practicing to be an F1 driver. Just take it easy. Have respect for other road users. If the road is tight and there's traffic, be patient. You will get out of it. There is nowhere that you're hurrying to that you will not get to if you're patient. Chamberlain, you know, we're always talking about how one of the things that has made me, and I think that people do listen to what it is that we say here, is talking about the fuel queues, for instance. You know, I know that Lagos has your queue eased? Because if it has eased in Lagos, we know that there is hope in Abuja. In Abuja, we still have some few queues. But it's a lot, what I say is a lot easier.
We're in Abuja now?
Yes, to get the product. You know that if you queue and you're patient, you will get the product. So a number of filling stations are now beginning to adopt the single line queue, where, you know, it's just a single line into the filling station. It can stretch for as long as whatever it is. The filling stations might take maybe about 20 cars at a time, and then when they do that, you know, the queue really moves forward. But everybody is beginning to learn to queue in a single file, so that you don't have this, you know, will I say, bottlenecks at the entrance of the station, and then people know that if you queue within a particular time frame, you should be able to get the product. So, because we had complained about, yes, we know that the product might be scarce, maybe it's been rationed, whatever the problems are, whatever the hitches are, we'll be getting a little more of that much later. But you know, it shouldn't be that when we now get to the filling station, people that you have never met before in your life will now turn your enemies. You go there up in arms, fighting everybody, fightable, just because you want to get petrol. It shouldn't be that way. I want to believe that if we're orderly, if we're, you know, if we're civil about it, and I think that's what we're beginning to adopt, at least in some of the filling stations that I have seen here in the Federal Capital Territory. I want to believe that, you know, Lagos is also, you know, borrowing a leaf, or maybe they are also coming up with their own devices. But whatever it is, a little patience, a little kindness, a little thoughtfulness for your fellow Nigerian. You begin to behave like the Nigeria that you want to see. Yes, you might complain about many things wrong with the country, but in the small circumstances you find yourselves, difficult situations you find yourselves, ourselves, let us behave like the Nigerians that would like to come across and the Nigeria that would like to see.
Well said, guys. You know, it's just that people are angry. People are tensed out there, so there's a lot of frustration. You know, I jump all those cabs regularly. Yeah, I still do it here too. So I got to pick their brains, but it's not exactly as smooth as they would have loved it to be, even though they could tell you several other things going on in different parts of the world. But we only hope and wish that those officials, maybe like the VIOs and the FRSCs, all those other traffic officials, if only they will widen their scope. Because, look, anyone, if you want to take this as a challenge, fine. Just look around when you're driving around. Look at any of those vehicles stopped by either the VIO, maybe the FRSC or any of those other agencies. Look at the kind or the class of cars that are usually stopped. Check it out. Maybe look for 5. And then if you see 3 out of those 5, if it's not 5 out of 5, maybe, they're usually cars they know can afford the fines. Why is that the case? You have several other vehicles out there that are dilapidated, articulated, in bad shape. And you see them just smooth past you, and you're like, look, your guess is as good as mine. We're going to go ahead. It's the revenue season, so that's what they do, these officials. And yeah, if they say it's not true, go to their offices, go and see the cars that are there. They know you will pay the fine. Then they clamp on those good-looking cars. Well, maybe for want of words, but I guess you get my point. We'll go ahead and take a look at some of the dailies in a moment. All right, let's start with Vanguard newspaper this morning. Health is a big focus for them. Nigeria needs 12,000 doctors annually, ascribed to MD Khan. Remember that famous comments from the Minister of Labour that, don't worry, Nigeria has got this. We have them on a regular basis. Put this in context then. It will take Nigeria 25 years to meet ideal target of 333,334. That's according to the NMA. Adds it's 1 doctor to 8,000 Nigerians now. Whoa. So you know the burnout syndrome will set in. Do you know the quality of care will be affected? It could depreciate. You know that we have a huge challenge on our hands. And, well, look at the other writers. Government should address reasons doctors are leaving NARD. Declare state of emergency in health sector, medical guild. So that is the big focus right there. So you might as well just go ahead and check it. Contempt. Court OK suit seeking removal of army chief. Wow. So remember, different security agencies have been caught in this web of contempt. The EFCC, IGP, now the Army, and then you have this latest one here today. Don't forget to take a look at what is on the back page after you look at that manufacturer's bit, also raising an alternative to power. But the Lions were at each other yesterday. 3 Lions and Teranga Lions But 3 Lions had 3 goals, 1 goal per Lion. And then the Taranga Lions just went with the tails tucked between the legs. They lost out, sadly. But what a run it was, anyways. That's Vanguard today.
The Abuja Inquirer, which is looking at how we do here in the Federal Capital Territory, is what I'm looking at for you this morning, and it's not looking very pretty. Water scarcity hits parts of Abuja. Board blames unpaid bills. Well, I imagine that this is just for those who are living within the I'm trying to find the word now. Not just the federal, it's not the Federal Capital Territory. Is it AEPB now? Trying to find. So Abuja is divided into districts. And the main district, which is where a lot of people drive to when you're talking about Abuja, the main city is where you actually find the water board providing water. So maybe those parts of the main city is where they're talking about. But there are many parts of Abuja, that's the FCT, that suffer from water scarcity in this season. When the dry season hits, that's it. The water just evaporates almost as quickly as it came. So I don't know, it's something that, you know, serious city planners will have to take a look into.
Especially there are countries that this is not new to them. Israel, for instance, it barely rains.
So yes, how do they manage their water?
That's the big question. It's all there for us to just look, see what goes on there, we can adopt it.
Okay, so I'm looking at areas here. I'm seeing parts of Gwarimpa, Wuye, Buari. So it's really many parts of the FCT, as a matter of fact, not just the main city area. Water scarcity hits parts of Abuja. Look at this one now. Bankers Awards 2022. Zenith Bank named Bank of the Year. They have that coverage for you. Over 176 million Nigerians live in unclean environment. That is according to a report. Now, if you also link that with what you're saying, you know, with the lead headline there, then, you know, it's no surprise. Minister decries poor sanitary condition in satellite towns. It's not just a decry. What are we doing about it? It's a key question. Let's leave it there for the Abuja Inquirer.
And the Daily Trust newspaper this morning leads with a matter of security, you know, very, very unsettling. This is the big story. Bandits abduct 46 in Katsina village attacks. And these are the riders, students, worshippers, children among victims. Imam, others wounded. Kidnappers demand new Naira notes for ransom. So it seems as if it's not only Maupe who is hungry for the new Naira notes this morning. Well, the last of the riders says this: we've rescued 4 chasing the attackers. That's ascribed to the police. Let's hope that, you know, they go ahead, right ahead, and, you know, nab all the 46 who have attacked Katsina villages. Let's go also beneath that now to see these ones. INEC tracks 52 campaign incidents in 2 months. We're not quite sure what exactly that means, perhaps as it relates with security, but it says it tracks 52 campaign incidents. It's a page 33 rather, if you're interested in that story. And this one also right beneath that one says ASP stabbed to death as naval police officers clash in Lagos. It's as if security agents, you know, are the objects of attacks, especially for you know, unscrupulous elements in recent times. So even those who are out to secure us are themselves targets. You know, we can't say enough how much they need to employ more, you know, police officers into the Nigeria police force and even into the army as well. There's a lot of talk about the inadequate, you know, men who are defending the territorial integrity of the country.
Perhaps a good place to begin is to check the welfare system for these security agencies. We have a significant number of security agencies, not within who secure the you know, Nigeria within its borders. I mean, many of them, what's their social status, what's their welfare status, what kind of system are they operating in, functional police stations and all those things, and all of the other security agencies that work with the police, which is the lead agency for securing Nigerians within the borders. What is the state of their welfare officially and personally? How do they live their lives? Where do they live?
Where do they live? Their accommodation?
All those things. We have laws that supposedly take care of these things. However, how are those laws obeyed to the benefit of the policemen and the tailback of that on the welfare of Nigerians? I mean, security of Nigerians. So.
Welfare is at the heart of the matter, this morning. And just earlier, we talked about the ratio of Nigerian doctors to Nigerians who are, the treated, and it's a sad one. It also goes to welfare. Well, just this one before we exit Daily Trust newspaper, beneath the nameplate and to the extreme right, you'll find this one. IPOB behind attack on Imo INEC office. That's ascribed to the police. We don't know who exactly is speaking, but it's a page 6 read. Whoever they are, the security agents must go after them. And this attack on INEC offices, attacks now, must stop. And, the security agents must begin to think ahead of these attackers. How porous are these offices? If they are objects of attack, then security agents must be proactive rather than reactive. So is there any other attack happening? Then there's more reinforcement required, at INEC offices nationwide. Let's leave it there now for Daily Trust newspaper.
But by the way, about INEC, INEC has released that press information saying that the commission, INEC, has fixed Monday, 12th December to Sunday, 22nd January for dates for collection of PVCs in all the 774 local government offices of the commission throughout the federation. So you have that number of days, a little over a month, to pick your PVCs. So make out time to do that. But maybe INEC also should let us know, are you going to be on holiday when everyone is on holiday as well? Because for some, that's probably the only time they'll be able to do it. But so I guess we'll wait for INEC to speak to that. This Nigeria newspaper is up, and this is what you have on its front page. 6 senatorial districts shut out of National Assembly since March. What does that mean? The details you'll find on page 2. Here are some inkling. 3 senators resign, 3 others in jail. Lawan fails to declare seats vacant. Find out why on page 2. Situation affects Nigerians in 41 local government areas. Now that is significant. In other words, those 41 local governments have not had representation in the National Assembly, perhaps in the Senate. Yes, in the Senate since March this year. The details you'll find on page 2. Governors, State Assembly, that's at the bottom of the page. Governors, State Assemblies delaying local government autonomy, says Osinbajo. Well, that's following that comment that the president also made about, So, I mean, add the two together. Isn't there some validity in what the president said? Well, of course, the governors are kicking and saying that is not the case, that, they don't steal local government funds, fine. But here is the vice president saying, state governors and state assemblies are delaying local government autonomy. 20 of Nigeria's state assemblies have considered the local government autonomy, financial and administrative autonomy bills. 16 of them have said yes. 1, I think, has said, no, we're not sure. 3 have said no to local government autonomy. We need 8 more to pass the bill. We have 36. What are the governors afraid of? What are the state houses of assembly afraid of? Because a sizable number of the governors are not coming back. They're not second-term governors. So they're already second-term governors. If the
governors are not interested in the local government accounts, then we should see the bill sail through a lot faster. We should see more acquiescence, by the state governors to the local government autonomy bills.
I thought that's common sense.
Common sense.
That's this Nigeria newspaper this morning.
Well, new telegraph is next, and insecurity is their big focus. Again, INEC facilities attacked in Imo. Well, so that means in spite of all those security summits and meetings, the attacks are still going on. So what is working there then? Second assault in 3 days, 7th in 5 states within 4 months. Release Kanu doused tension in Southeast Igbo Town Union's Tel FG. Normalcy will soon return to Nigeria, described to Shinkafi. So, in the news for the wrong reasons, again, you might add. But look at this at the bottom strip. 2023 elections will be turning points for Nigeria, ascribed to former President Obasanjo. Says, oil and gas can no longer sustain our economy. Notes, only agribusiness can feed nation's growing population. And I know I might like to remind us about the several agri programs we've had in this country from 1960. That NAFFP, I think that's National Accelerated Food Production Program. That was designed by the federal and the state government at the time. Then you had OFN, of former President Obasanjo, then Green Revolution, several. So in spite of all of those, where are we? I know you may say population is growing, but how do we measure success or otherwise of programs like that? So it's a big one for us as a country.
Population growth should be a boost, but apparently it's not.
So, I mean, and don't forget, we spent a lot of money on all those special programs. And now, the latest happens to be what's that, CBN, that intervention program from CBN. So, anchor borrowers, yeah. So, there you go. All of those featuring there. Reps probe PETROAN over failure to recruit staff despite approval. Move $800 million port operators debt probe to Lagos. So that is what you also see right there, and so it's something that you may need to focus on. But speaking about security, IGP orders maximum security for Abuja-Kaduna rail operators, also featuring, especially as the rail line is scheduled to resume activities. You might want to keep tabs on that one. So that is New Telegraph this morning.
Okay, well, let's take a look at what The Guardian has for you today. And the lead story is, after 251 days, Abuja-Kaduna rail service resumes amid 6.6 billion naira losses. Yes, the service was supposed to have resumed sometime last month, but I think for some reason, which is not yet clear, they have moved it to this month. So it's starting today, and maybe it's just coming right on time because a lot of people are already planning how they're going to travel, and road is not the most attractive option when you're looking at that Abuja-Kaduna axis. Look at this, NRC, federal government only lost 113 million naira to Abuja-Kaduna railway closure. Fare hike takes effect today. We increased fares due to diesel cost. Improved security, says Okira. I think that's the NRC boss. IGP assures of safety, deploys personnel en route, operational coaches. Experts insist not safe to travel by train unless there is aerial surveillance, armed drone patrol. Abuja-Kaduna highway to be completed first quarter 2023, Minister assures. So a lot of stories around the Abuja-Kaduna rail service resuming. You also see there, for those who have been waiting, Serap sues Buhari over failure to probe alleged missing trillions in ecological funds. So Serap not tired of suing and wait for the outcome of these cases from their suits. Look at this one. Buhari charges new ECOWAS management to complete ongoing reforms. And is this a warning now? Naira redesign. Any attempt to reduce cash holding will cripple economy. Might want to pay attention to what that is saying on page 15. Don't forget that the CBN says, look, we're going to give you new Naira notes, but we want everybody to start plugging into the electronic forms of payment.
Which is also a challenge by itself.
Yeah, but I mean, people are already doing that. I don't think it's something you force. It's when people find it's convenient, naturally they switch to it.
After all, how did the POSs come? Because the normal ones was not working. Then you had the POS where they say you have to go pay some money to get money from POS operators. So it was just an.
But in many cases, even in places like Abuja, it will surprise you that Abuja is thoroughly underbanked. And if you live here in Abuja and you complain that it is underbanked, you have to ask, what about those who live outside Abuja in many other states, in rural communities? So these POSs have actually, been solving problems for us. But, I do hope that we don't complicate matters by being too strict in terms of how they deploy cash at the end of this redesign.
Anyway, the banks will be compensated because, concerning cash deposits, the CBN says, while you're depositing, no charge. But when you're going to withdraw, there will be a charge. Hey, scratch my back, I scratch yours. Guys?
Well, I guess, the scratching and all of that is not just going to end, but one thing that has finally ended is the impasse, shall we say, of the Kaduna-Abuja train operations. That has been lifted according to the NRC. NRC resumes Kaduna-Abuja train operations amidst tight security. Just to confirm what you may already know, after about 8 months, it suspended operations following a deadly attack on Kaduna-bound train on March 28. The Nigeria Railway Corporation has resumed train services on the Kaduna-Abuja route. Terrorists had done that, but hey, here we are now. That attack, of course, if you remember, injured 26 and later kidnapped 63 victims, and among others. So, as a result of that unfortunate incident, the management of NRC suspended operations on the route indefinitely. Well, that indefinite suspension has now ended, as you can see on the front page on your screen right now.
And just to add that as part of the new measures, you're now required to present your personal identification number before you can be allowed to board, But is that enough to increase the confidence levels of travelers on that route, to decide to take up a journey? I doubt that that's enough. And all of that talk about installing security cameras on the train now, it didn't quite go through. But still, we see some Nigerians there. Are they traveling just on prayers alone? Because if you ask me, I wouldn't be so quick, to decide to board, the Abuja-Kaduna train route, just to get to my destination. I don't know about you. But
well, it's a catch-22 sort of, because while those measures of government is there, at some point, the investments made can't just go to waste. Because on the one hand is the roads, and on the other hand is now this option. So it's almost like a choice between two evils. Choose one or the rest or that. Well, confidence level in government is greatly depleted, but at some point we have to have a little bit, because at the end of the day, there are Nigerians like us as well. I don't know any government that would intend or desire to see its own people in jeopardy. But as you can see, the NRC has resumed operations on the Kaduna-Abuja routes. They say it is safe. We will not know until you try. We're back after now to take on the issues for the day. Do stay with us.
Like a bolt out of the blue, the fuel scarcity in the southwestern region of Nigeria is hitting states such as Ondo, where long queues at petrol stations are becoming the order of the day. The price is dear, as much as 230 to 250 naira per litre.
If the government want to deregulate the fuel, they should deregulate the fuel. If they want to do it, let them do it. Let the whole Nigeria know that they want to deregulate. Not that they are telling us the social number of months they want to do that, and there's a scarcity of fuel. You move around the whole town of Akure, no fuel, and then the little you have to move, you just have to just manage it to move around, and there's still nothing to. I've been to that town, been to Okaro, no fuel in the major towns in the state. And then those that even have it, they are hoarding it. It's not that they don't have it.
Explanations for the long queues in Lagos State, the nation's commercial capital, are coming from the NNPC, who blame the scarcity on road construction around Apapa, amongst other reasons.
We currently have a national PMS stock of over 2 billion liters. This is equivalent to over 30 days sufficiency. The recent queues in Lagos are largely due to ongoing road infrastructure projects around Apapa and access road challenges in some parts of Lagos depots.
For the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, speaking on politics today, the federal government should create an effective monitoring structure.
Even my members are ready to pay whatever throughput charge. Let the NNPC select from those private depots who can pay that charges extra. It doesn't take anything from us. So that maybe Port Harcourt depot, go to Bok, Aba depot, go to just Maiduguri, go place in Calabar. That 21 depots, when you do something like that now and monitor the product, this thing will just go down immediately.
This situation is as far-flung as Kaduna State in the northwestern region, where the pump price has hit 265 naira per litre.
It has to do with price control. Once we don't get the product at relatively prices, it's difficult to sell above the prices of the government. And so to save your head, you have to do a lot of low down until products are secure and affordable price.
With the Yuletide season around the corner, the scarcity couldn't have come at a less auspicious time, and Nigerians hope it goes as quickly as it came.
All right, welcome back. Well, yes, that is what we're focusing on today. And as you've seen, Dr. Billy Gillis-Harry joins us next. He is the National President, Petroleum Products Retail Owners Association of Nigeria. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Jamlin. Good morning.
Well, we have heard different perspectives from the NNPC, ranging from construction as a major challenge, even though they've got the products to supply Nigerians, but they can't access some of those. But we equally have heard some other narratives from some of your colleagues at the different value chain in terms of what they think is the problem. So if you could tell us, from your own perspective, what is this challenge about?
Well, I think, first of all, we need to be very clear about passing information to the Nigerian public so that we are careful in presenting the facts as it is. In the value chain today, PETROAN is the most critical because we are the last mile. We are the ones that interface with bike riders, Okada riders, everybody that is requiring to move from one location to the other. So long as we have not gotten other, dependable sources like the rail lines working and so on and so forth. So PETROAN is a very critical segment of that value chain. So we know a little bit more. We really can only supply to the public what we have been supplied by NNPC, knowing fully well that we are not importers of PMS, and there is no production of PMS in Nigeria from our local refineries. So the issue is simply a dearth in supply, a difficulty in ensuring that supply meets demand. That is just what's there. And I believe that NNPC themselves, they're doing the much they can to try to bring succor to the Nigerian public. But I think it needs to move faster.
But this is contrary to what the NNPC says,
yes,
that they have a lot of those products, but you disagree. Why is that?
Well, I can have 1 billion liters of PMS sitting down, and if I'm not able to pass it onto the next distribution chain to bring it down, then the story needs to be improved on. Because if there is product, we should be able to access product.
Yeah, but they say there's product, but they can't access it because of construction work around those areas. And then in other parts of Lagos, they can't distribute to PETROAN and the rest of them.
Well, we are ready to help. We offer to help. We will do everything possible.
So has there been a meeting about this?
Well, there is always the desire to have meeting around this to make sure that every stakeholder is informed about it. But I doubt if that has yielded the kind of result that I personally want to see. I want to see where we are able to offer solutions to problems even before the problems come. So that is where we are. We've been in this situation for a while. And we need to get it, right. At least in this administration, we'll say that this year is the most hit on this fuel scarcity issue, from flooding to product adulteration to different kinds of things. In the 8 years that this government is running, I think this is just the year that is really getting a sour story about fuel distribution. So I think we, as the retail outlet owners, can actually offer a solution to this.
So your group is not usually part of the meeting when it holds?
Well, we are, but you don't forget that we have almost all the retail outlets, stakeholders as members of our association, because we are independent marketers are members, major marketers are members, DAPMA stations are members. So long as you have a filling station you are a filling station owner, you are expected to be a member of PETROAN.
Excuse me, Chamberlain, sometimes when you're on this job, I think I recognize diplomise when I hear it. It's now a language that a number of our guests speak quite fluently. Excuse me, but let me ask you, more directly.
Yes.
What has been the cause of this last scarcity? What has caused this last hiccup?
Well, as far as I can tell, it's a supply issue. And that's the truth. For instance, now, the 2 billion liters that is said to be around now, once we have access to it, we'll bring it down to the users.
So tell us, what exactly is the chain like normally? Because do you go directly to the depots to purchase, or what do you do?
Of course, we go directly. We are bulk purchase holders with NNPC. So, of course, NNPC is duty-bound contractually to sell us product. And when we buy product, we move it down to our retail outlets and sell.
So you are the one who has to go through the hiccups of the Apapa blockage and what have you to be able to get the...
Obviously, because we also pay for the logistics.
So how big a problem has that been for you?
Well, it was a problem during the flood. And right now, if we're hearing our senior partners talking about road construction as a reason, we need to all sit down and find a way around it.
Is it a reason for you?
Well, if you ask me, I would say that we can do better than that. We can do better than that. Because if 2 billion liters is sitting down somewhere, there are so many ways that we can be able to transport the product. We can go by marine.
So speaking more factually now, and speaking more directly now, you do not think that logistics of building or road construction has actually been the
well, I will not contradict NNPC's position, because they have much more information about this than us. But at the end of the day, I can only talk for my members. I can only talk for the public that is, hurting, coming to my members' retail outlets, and they're not able to get product.
Okay, so we had received word before now that it's not exactly, well, maybe construction has a part to play. I don't know. I'm not in the business, and you will know better. But why are you laughing, Chamberlain? Well, but what we have heard is that at the depots, the price at which the marketers were lifting it had gone far up. In fact, some people said they were buying for as much as 190 naira, which was what the depots were willing to sell to the independent marketers and to people like you as well. And that if they're buying at 190 naira, how are they expected to sell at, is it 170 or 179 naira?
That is not possible at all.
Exactly. So at what price were your members asked to purchase at the depots?
No, not asked to purchase. Is a situation that the price is determined by what we find on the ground. Now, for instance, you are asking me what is the distribution process, and I was trying to explain that to you. At first, we have a bulk purchase agreement with NNPC. So NNPC is duty bound to sell us. But don't forget that the 21 depots in the country today that are owned by PPMC, they're not functioning well, because the refineries are not working, and then pipelines that's interconnecting these depots are also not working well. So, of course, there is
private owners.
There is the next option, which will go to the private depots. And the private depots now hold products for both themselves and also for the PPMC. And for those of us who are able to get through the PPMC allocation process, we also get product from there. But of course, in that size, it will be this size. So if that PPMC product, PPMC as it was before, because PPMC today is almost not there anymore, we can then buy at that price. If we bought at that price, there is no PETROAN member that will sell above 165 if we got that product at the price that we have agreed with NNPC. But obviously, there are constraints. There are logistic constraints, ship-to-ship transfer, the other charges, port charges, different kinds of charges, different kinds of taxation that comes along the way. So I even sympathize with the depot owners. I was one of those who was very vocal against the depot owners. But when we sat down and did the maths, certainly you can see that they have a point. So
and the bottom line is that it is not realistic for depot owners to sell at the agreed price.
No, it's just not possible, because there's so much price build-up along the way. And don't forget that most of these charges are dollarized.
So would you say then that if you were to look at logistics and look at pricing, cumulative, will I say cumulative, what is it, cumulative, no, accumulated pricing, I mean all the charges and costs. If you were to look at the two, which one would you say is causing this hiccup that we have seen in the new scarcity that we're witnessing?
No, this scarcity, as far as I know, because I mean, in my position, I should know better, is simply a supply issue. Because there is no other there's no other difficulty that we can trace to this issue.
Yes, I'm trying to narrow it down.
Now we are ready. Let me tell you what's going on now. Now, right now, if you go to any of the streets, close to filling stations, out of filling stations, you used to challenge me on this issue. People are selling 10 liters of fuel for 4,000, for 4,005.
You mean black marketers?
Yes. And motorists are buying it and using it.
So that justifies them hiking the normal price?
No. It doesn't. But what we are saying is that it is better for there to be product for everybody to use than this situation where there is stifling of import issues, and all of that. When the government could just liberalize it for us, deregulate the process, so that we, for instance, PETROAN can work out the process to be able to bring in product, or try to work with the government to get a refinery, one of the refineries, and make it work for our members.
Well,
that's the only solution.
I was really, well, I think that our viewers can make up their mind. I mean, from what you have said, that is really, really causing the problem. Because for a number of people, they know that outside of the cities of Lagos and Abuja, where you have the regulators really putting their eyes on what is happening at the filling stations. In other cities, in many other major cities, there are products where people are allowed to sell at, is it 250 naira or even more, 300, whatever price it is that, you know, their products arrive at, they can put a profit margin to it and sell. In those places, there are no queues. So when we hear excuses such as, oh, it's because of construction around Apapa area, there are big questions to ask as to how come this thing is only affecting places like Lagos and Abuja.
Well, the questions will be many, and the answers are simple. If we have product, we'll supply product. If we have supply, the demand will be met. And it's as simple and as straightforward as that. Right. We actually will be very happy to make sure that there is enough product and everybody is able to have product. But the point I want to also make is that this pricing that is already being canvassed daily, even us as ordinary Nigerians are seeing that that price is not going to make PMS to be available.
What is the pricing that you can say right now that from the depot to the from wherever it is, from maybe the ship to the end user? What is the price that you are looking at now that you think that
everywhere in the world now?
Yes,
there is price increase in PMS, in petrol.
That is true. Everywhere in the world.
Everywhere.
But the price is dropped as well in the state, in some parts of the states.
Well, what they drop in is not significant, because today now in America you are buying 1 gallon of PMS for almost $3. That used to be 1 point something.
Well, they reported that it dropped lower than what it was before the Ukraine
war
began.
No, it is volatile. So the issue.
But ours never drop here. That's the thing. Significant or insignificant, it never drops.
Well, maybe sometime.
There you go. Well, Lagos is facing this challenge as well, so let me bring in my colleagues in Lagos. Go ahead, guys.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I think a good place to begin with Mr. Gillis Harris is to tell us, I mean, I think that's part of the question Marco was trying to get to. What are the different stops in the chain from the ship to the retailer at the fuel station? What are the stops that have to be gone through? We know that you have also mentioned the NNPC, the PPMC, and the rest of them. What are the stops that, and in what order do these, does the product have to get to these stops before they get to the fuel station?
Well, first, product is imported or, got through the swap process, and then a massive mother vessel brings the product to our waters. From that point on, subsidy is in fact, gone, because from the mothership, it goes to smaller daughter vessels that will now start to do deliveries. Whether it is going to an NNPC depot or is going to a private depot. Now, the cost elements that comes in there, they're very huge, and they are not paid in Nigerian naira. That is one challenge.
We'll come to the details of the pricing, Mr. Gillis Harris. So you've mentioned from the ship to the depots, the NNPC depots, or the private depots.
Yes.
And then from there, where does it go?
Yes. Yeah, from then on, it gets to our retail outlets.
Okay. Are you saying then, because Bukola was trying to get that question out as well, are you saying that it's the depot owners are the marketers? Is that what you're saying?
The depot owners can only sell their product, with a profit margin. And it goes without saying that that's what they have to do.
Are the depot owners, just a second, Mr. Gillis Harris.
Then they cannot buy products
Just
anymore.
1 second, just 1 second. Are the depot owners, the marketers, are they the members of IPMAN, for instance?
The depot owners have their own association. It's called DAPMAN.
Okay. So they're different from
Some
marketers.
major marketers also have depots.
Okay. All right. Now,
some independent marketers also have depots.
Okay. So now you've talked about the huge price differentials. At what point do the prices begin to rise? Is it from the NNPC depots or from the private depot owners?
No, but I've just explained to you. The moment the subsidy payment ends, and then the other logistics costs starts hopping in, paying for vessels, paying for charges, paying for port handling, paying for landing costs, paying certain levels of taxes and all of that. That's where the price comes in. Okay.
Now, we had an interview with your chief of staff, Mr. Inimba Emmanuel, who said to us at the time that there are some changes within in the downstream sector. He said the PPMC is no longer PPMC. What you have now is NNPC retail, which is for filling station owners and retailers. And you have NNPC trucking, which is for vessels, tank farms, and all. But he now said 1 or 2 persons in former PPMC are still there as transition processes are ongoing, and they are yet to transmit powers to the next persons. This was an interview we had with him barely a week ago. Is this issue still subsistent? How significant is this as a bottleneck in the process?
Well, it's correct because PPMC, it's fizzling out. There's a transition going on to NNPC retail, that is the truth. And of course, there's a transition committee that must work to make sure that the transition is smooth and efficient. So that is still ongoing.
So, Mr. Gillis Harris, what price are the retailers getting the product from the depot owners? And what's the realistic price based on all the calculations that you have made prior to this time? What's the realistic price that that fuel, petrol, can go for across board?
Well, as it is today, if our full landing costs is about 199, 200, I think there is no way we should sell for less than 220. That is, if we're buying product that is not allocated to us through the PPMC, through the NNPC, as it is today.
So those selling for 350 naira, well, 250 naira and above, are they making inordinate gain and taking advantage of the situation?
Well, the thing is, if people are taking advantage of the situation outside of the city limits, I think the authorities should take steps to be able to check that out and work it out. But the other thing that I will suggest is we should be able to encourage petroleum product availability. Pricing is important, but it's more important for today. If you call for a bolt now, you'll see that there is no there's a dearth of vehicles in almost all the cities.
That's not the answer to the question. I expected you to confirm or to say yes or no whether they're taking advantage of the situation. But just before we go, is the NNPC still importing petroleum products? Because Nigerians need to know why most NNPC petrol stations are not selling the product. But for retailers and retailers, are you still able to buy the product from the NNPC?
Well, NNPC is still importing. There's no other way that we can get PMS in the country except through importation at this time. There is no refinery that is producing PMS in Nigeria.
But how do you explain?
It just looks as though this price is not going to go below 220, 250. And even though the approved price is 148, this may just be a way through the back door of increasing this price. I will stand corrected if this price comes back down, Dr. Harry, because even when it went up, there wasn't that major announcement. The commission, the company also did say, don't worry, no, nobody can hike any price. But look at us today. And so this is going to be the case. Maybe Nigerians should just wake up and smell the coffee. I know, Dr. Harry, yes, they will give us all sorts of challenges, reasons why that may not be the case. You have said it doesn't make sense selling below, what, 220?
Yes, it doesn't. Yeah.
Against approved pump price of 148.
No, approved pump price of 165.
165.
Yes.
And so there you go. So I would like to be wrong on this matter and see if it will go below or if it will go back to the approved price. You never know. Well, thank you for coming on.
But if next week the 2 billion liters get released and PPMC is selling product to us at a template that is being approved by NNPP, I can assure you that the price will come down.
To what?
Just to what the regulated price will be.
So
but don't forget that even an NPC today is already crying and bleeding. They are bleeding and crying and shouting that, is this sustainable again?
So, well, the man in Jos, Karana Moda, will they get it for 160?
Once we have supply at the price that we have discussed about, NNPC normally will sell us at below 150 naira.
But we've had supply before now at a time, and they never sold at the approved pump price in those other areas beyond Lagos and Abuja.
It's simply the same issue. If I'm supposed to buy product from PPMC and I couldn't get it and I went to other sources to get, the important thing is that the station is wet.
Okay.
And motorists can be able to access product, so there'll be no 2-mile-long lines.
All right. We'll wait and see what happens. But if you ask me, I will hold my breath on that one. But Dr. Billy Gillis-Harry is the National President, Petroleum Products Retailers Owners Association of Nigeria, PETROAN. We will be back in a moment and turn our attention to politics. Stay with us. Welcome back. Well, yes, Bishop Idahosa joins us next. He is the vice presidential candidate of NNPP. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so very much.
Well, I just wonder how your experience has been now, because not many knew that you did anything politics whatsoever up until your announcement. But so tell us your experience now. How, because you're still going about your pastoral duties, I reckon, and then politicking as well. How is that coming on for you?
Well, not quite easy. Coming from the background of a pastor for such a long time, 33 years pastoring a single congregation. And of course, you do know that pastoring has to do with people too. We pastor politicians, we pastor all manner of people from different fields, different backgrounds. And so you preach by inspiration, but you manage people by knowledge, by human management. So you'll have to know how to manage people. So aside being a pastor, that the Holy Spirit will have to do all the job of inspiration, of restoration, people, you have to know how to manage people. So if you've been able to manage people successfully for 33 years, so we'll call that to bear in politics.
Do you sometimes find it a bit odd or like fish out of water when you're used to delivering a certain message to a certain audience and they receive it in a certain way, and then you come into this realm, this terrain, wherein people are very pessimistic about politicians? Be careful what the politician tells you. If he tells you this in the day, you have to be sure. How do you combine all of that?
I'm sure even some say, I hope you have not lost your anointing. And Bishop, be very careful. Are you sure God called you into politicking? Are you sure this? Are you sure that? And how will you cope? And they tend to, like, when I say, well, you see, I stand by the truth. They said, how far can you go with the truth? So all those questions come to bear. But you see, it's a matter of decision. Once you've made up your mind to throw yourself into the ring, I won't start down to count the cost. and with your singleness of purpose and sincerity of heart, you go a long way.
How are you managing the perception where people think, look, NNPP win the presidency? They don't see a path to victory. They think more like NNPP wants to perhaps consolidate in a certain region, probably up north or northwest, but they don't see them going all the way to winning the presidency. In fact, some refuse to believe that
they
NNPP
never saw
will not step
Donald
down.
Trump was coming.
But that's a different scenario because he was a Republican, he was a national, he had national spread. NNPP is not like that.
It's not like that, but it can be. You see, there's always the first time. I would always prefer people undermining us. Like I did mention earlier part of this dispensation that we're about to spring a surprise, and it's already very glaring, and it's being seen by all. NNPP is not just it's not in there to blend in, it's in it to win it. Now, we've been able to do a whole lot, and then a surprise is coming. And when I say a surprise is coming, based on our impact, our negotiations, our conversations, our from place to place moving grassroots work. People identify with those who do what we call a showmanship thing. But we don't do that. We canvass for votes, and we do that grassroots level. On the 17th of this month, we're going to have our first rally here in Abuja, and from there we'll not spread.
On the 17th of this month?
Of this month.
So you're waiting until the 17th before you... Is it kick off your
We're going to flag off the presidential campaign.
The presidential campaign.
Otherwise, we've been doing campaign offices opening here and there, and of course, that's another way to let people know you are there, as you let them know what you have in mind for Nigeria.
So it's interesting how, I mean, my colleague already mentioned that a lot of people did not know that you were into politics. In fact, I had not even, I know that, you know, there are many pastors. I didn't know you until your name was mentioned, and then we all had to quickly go online. Who is Bishop Idahosa? You know, and to find out who exactly you were. So for a number of people, you know, when it comes to presidential candidates and their vice presidential candidates, they always look to see a match, a known presidential candidate and at least a known vice presidential candidate who brings something to the table. As my colleague mentioned, you're not exactly known in the world of politics. You're not a pastor who was known to be playing politics before. Did you just join the NNPP?
No, anyway, the NNPP had been for 21 years, but then it was revocated about 8-9 months ago. I've been very close to my principal, even before now.
Okay.
Yeah, I've loved his leadership style over the years, many years.
Oh, okay, but you are not a member of any political party?
No, until NNPP.
Until NNPP.
Yes.
So you were just a pastor minding your church and being friends with him? Being
friends with him, very closely so. But then, you see, like I did say, politics. Everybody runs politics.
Yeah,
even,
I know, of course. I mean, even
so when you are bringing larger form, larger scale,
yes,
is what you're talking about.
So I'm looking at what demographic,
yes,
you know, your principal is actually hoping that you'll be able to speak to. I know that one of the things that has been a bit interesting in this, I was going to be interesting in this politics to see what role religion plays, which is one area where you at least will have an idea. But so far, so good. It does appear that CAN, that's the Christian Association of Nigeria, you know, also wants Christians to play a key role in these elections. Would you say that the manner in which CAN, I know they have been inviting presidential candidates to come and talk about their plans. They have their own agenda, which they also want whoever comes into power to make sure that they are focusing on. Would you say that so far so good, you have been able to convince members of CAN that, you know, maybe you being a vice presidential candidate to the candidate of the NNPP is the way CAN should be looking at? After all, you're one of them.
Yeah, I'm one of them, but that's not all about it. It's about, we must get to a point where we don't mind your religion, your ethnic background, to be able to see what input you are bringing on the table. Of course, yes, I've met with the CAN, with the PFN. Beyond that, what we have in our manifesto decides and determines what can we tilt towards. And when we begin to go beyond religion, the country will be better off for it.
So you're asking people to look beyond religion right now?
Look beyond religion, look beyond where you are from, and find out the content, what you have got, what you want to offer, especially looking at antecedents of my principal, what he has been able to offer when he was two-time Kano governor, was Minister of Defense, was a senator, was Speaker House of Rep, was an ambassador. So all these things called to bear. Not about picking him for him being a Christian or being a pastor or a bishop. It cuts across. I have people who love to see me involved, even from the north, for all asunder. I'm
looking at if I were to go with the antecedents of pastors, maybe save the vice presidential candidate. I'm a vice president right now, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, who is a pastor in the Redeemed Christian Church of God. Not a lot of pastors have done well in politics by themselves. Is it Pastor Chris Okotie? I'm sure you know him very well. Is it Pastor Tunde Bakari, who also tried to be presidential candidate on the platform of the APC? It doesn't look like pastors really understand the political terrain. They understand church, yes, they have a good following in church, but that following doesn't seem to translate to votes or to clout when it comes to politics. What do you think causes the disconnect?
We must be able to strike an equilibrium. But you see, like for me, for instance, it's not like what I looked forward to. It sufficed me to be Dr. Kwankwaso's friend. About this time, Salah break, if you want me to give a little background how I came in, he called me, Bishop, where are you? I said, Lagos. He said, could you come to Kano so we can have Salah celebration together? I got into Kano, and I was greeted by a large crowd of people. Salah time, he does that every Salah to feed people. So he asked me to greet the people. Of course, you know, I speak the Hausa very well. He said, Bishop, how are you going to greet them in Hausa or in English? I said, Hausa. Then we're going on, and everywhere went agog. And he never had to tell me what was on his mind. At about 12 midnight that Sunday evening, he called me and said, that was about a week to the closure of the portal, that's INEC. He said, Bishop, please help me source out for a running mate from the South. Then I had to call on the fathers of faith. He said, this is what I've been saddled on me to help source out for NNPP, a running mate for Dr. Kwankwaso. And everybody had been neck deep, just a week to the closure of portal. So I called on a few, name whoever, I mentioned them. So it was on a Monday now, I was not able to find one. The only one we got said he had just limited time to be able to go and seek for counsel about that. And then that was a Tuesday already. So he said, Bishop, on Wednesday I should come to his house at Maitama so I can join in the screening of screening. That's how he left it. Little did I know it was me that was going to be screened. So I got there, and here was Buba Galadima, Elder Buba Galadima, and all national chairman and what have you got. And he said, they said I should sit down. I sat. So if you are to be chosen as the vice presidential candidate, running mate to His Excellency Kwankwaso, what's your vision for Nigeria? I said, is that why you brought me? Nobody told me I was coming here for screening. I thought I was going to join in the screening committee as a friend. I said, well, if I am to be his running mate, I don't have any vision. Hence, I'm a supporting striker. Because if I have a vision and I'm bringing my vision to his, then the vision comes to bear. It is this vision, his mind, his thoughts, will have to sit down and rub minds together to run what he has, and then we'll see how we go on. Long story short, then I was asked to produce my CV, my resume. I said, for crying out loud, I don't know the last time, I can't remember anything. They said, I said, I'm not looking for a job. They said, you don't have it on your phone? I said, am I looking for a job? I'm not looking for a job. I just came to say hello and do some stuff with my friend. They said, now you must have to go to Lagos, get your... Then I began to crack my brain. Primary school, when did I really... It became, because what I look forward to. I only look forward to Dr. Kwankwaso, because he had asked me a couple of times, should I become president? What would you want? I said, I just want to remain as your friend. When I had to call my wife, my senior sister had got my certificates, and then my wife, I called, I rushed back to Lagos, got it. At about 9 p.m. on Wednesday, my name was flying all around. On social media, that was Isaac, that was, I said, ah. Then I called on my principal. Sir, what's happening? My name is all over. He said, come on, but just forget about that, just go to bed. I said, okay, sir. Thursday was worse. Everybody, everywhere, my phone was beeping and ringing. Then at about 2 p.m., he now called and said, Excellency. That's the first time he mentioned that, to qualify me that way. He would always say, Bishop. Now, Excellency, congratulations. My hands were shaking, my legs were wobbling. I said, congratulations, what? He said, you are my running mate. I said, is that how it does happen? This is how it happens. So this is the story.
How have the church members taken to this?
Yeah. They are glad in, because you see, it's not enough to pray. We watch, get involved. So I've been getting involved, and I share some philosophies, some mindsets with my principal. Now, you know, the church has to deal with transformation of people's minds and helping people to find their bearing in life through Christ and some other mind empowerments. So bringing this to bear, honestly, I enjoy what I do. But
I don't expect that you will expect that everybody in church, in your church, will vote for NNPP.
No. I'm not even pressing towards that. No, if you begin to do that, then something is wrong. Let them know what you have. And of course, I have got different membership who belong to different parties. And when we come to church, it's church. When we get to politics, it's politics. So it's not like where you coerce people or, no, that's not how it goes.
Well, Buki drove past Redeem this morning on her way to work in Lagos, so maybe she might have picked up something she wants to ask you. Buki, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Chamberlain. Well, driving past Redeem has very little to where I'm headed with Bishop this morning. Good morning, Bishop. Congratulations. Well, it's a bit belated.
Thank you so much.
But all the same, there's been a lot of talk about the choice of vice presidential candidates. It has raised not a little dust, you know, since presidential candidates began to choose their VPs, their vice presidential running mates. Do you think that you may have been chosen because of your first calling, and perhaps that makes you malleable to the interests and dispositions of what a president would require?
Anyways, to start with, my principal believes in the drive for equity, fairness, and justice. He wanted to balance his ballot, and so he would have loved to have a Christian face on that ballot. Like I did mention to you how I came in. Notwithstanding, you can be a Christian and be of an empty head. You have got nothing to offer. He must have seen me and studied me over time, and how we relate. Your words are you, and they drive your conduct and your actions. To have seen that, yes, I have fitted.
He'd be getting from Governor Wike.
Well, so gracious to us that once we come to his territory, he's going to ensure we have the logistics support, the security support, and whatever support we need.
But what about the votes?
The votes.
The lifeblood of this whole thing.
Well, one who is giving you support, giving you logistics support.
Logistics is different from the vote.
But you see, it's part of it. One who is saying, welcome to my home, simply means he accepts you in his home. But time shall tell what that will translate to.
But he also welcomed the Labour Party candidate.
That's what he has to do. He said, well, you were a governor, I am a governor, coming to my state, logistics, security, and what you need to succeed here will be given to you.
Didn't your principal say, well, Your Excellency, look, what about the votes? Maybe in quiet control. You're not allowed to talk about that in the open?
You call him my principal. And there was a time they got into one small office, and I'm not qualified to be there. Whatever they must have discussed, only time will reveal.
But is he keeping things away from you already?
No.
You're supposed to be the number 2.
No, but he went, I mean, Chamberlain, you are saying this because you need to say that. I'm saying that there's a time he will separate offices to discuss, then he comes to tell me. But I'm not in the preview to now begin to mention to you what they discussed, when they were both alone.
But naturally, you expect votes from Rivers.
I expect votes from Rivers. I pray for votes. I pray God convinces the G5 to tilt towards our direction. We're asking them just to do the needful. We are the right party to be voted for, and they know that Konkoso can perform, and he will perform. So I appeal to Governor Wike and his friends, the G5, the Integrity Group, to consider NNPP to give with their votes.
All right, Bishop Idahosa, Vice Presidential Candidate for the NNPP. Thank you for coming on, and all the best.
Thank you so very much.
We will be back in a moment. Stay with us.
Well, thank you for staying with us. And by the way, Chamberlain, when you labor a lot before you get fuel, you definitely remember the NNPC sometimes. And talking about Labour, the Labour Party is here with us this morning. Okejo Onuakaluse is a member of the Labour Party's legal team. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. It's my pleasure being here.
Okay. Let's begin with that. Should we call it the elephant in the room now? I mean, you are not unaware of that conversation between the Labour Party National and Labour Party in Ogun State. All of that suspension or not suspension of the spokesperson of or the DG of your presidential campaign. Exactly what's going on?
Okay, it's my pleasure. Good morning, viewers. It's my great honor to be here. First of all, let me start. I saw the documentary concerning the acting National Publicity Secretary in respect of the judgment we got at the Court of Appeal. I was the first appellant in that case. We filed an appeal in respect of the decision of the Federal High Court at Abuja that dismissed our application, the Labour Party's application, to submit list of candidates for the National Assembly in Lagos. Incidentally, I was in that court. And I called the National Publicity Secretary. Thereafter, I said, we need to appeal on this matter. He was dig-dalling. After a few days, I decided, I'm a lawyer, I decided to take up the matter and file on behalf of the party. And you know, what happened in appeal section, and by virtue of section 239 and 240 of the 1999 Constitution, a Court of Appeal is an appellant court. It is a decision based overview of what took place at the lower court. That's the Federal High Court. And the first thing you do is when you file a notice of appeal, the issue you raise that in the grounds of appeal, you began to talk about that the court of the first instance, that's the Federal Court, erred in certain areas of the law. And that's why you are appealing. And that's the grounds. And the next thing you do is that you compile records. So when you compile records, you now transmit the record to the Court of Appeal. It is when the record of Court of Appeal is transmitted that appeal will be entered. These are stages. These are procedural grounds will have to take place. So the records was transmitted on the 5th of October, and we have 7 days to file brief of argument. I came back to Lagos and I met with my principal. We prepared the brief of argument, and we went back. I went back personally to Court of Appeal in Abuja on the 13th of October. Then we filed our brief of argument, and the matter is slated for hearing. When the matter was slated for hearing, we came to adopt a brief of argument, and the matter was reserved for judgment. And when the matter was resolved, I was called upon on the 17th of November that the judgment is ready. We came on the 18th of November, and the judgment was read. And the Court of Appeal set aside the decision of the Federal High Court and granted us our appeal and allow the Labour Party to submit the list of the candidates for the National Assembly to INEC. And the decision is a landmark decision because we base our argument on section 29 sub 1 of the Electoral Act 2022, and which says that every political party shall submit the list of its candidates not later than 180 days to the day announced for the election. And the day the INEC shut the server was 206 days to the general election. So we have over 26 days. So that was our main argument. Our main argument was that INEC couldn't have shut their server to political parties to submit their names less than 180 days, which is a benchmark by the Electoral Act. I know that INEC, by virtue of Section 148 of the Electoral Act, has the right to provide the guidelines for the election. But it is, if you look at that very section, 148, it says subject to the Act. It means that it cannot go contrary to this. So, and Section 29 very pronounced, sub 1 said 180 days to the general election.
So what has this got to do with the purported suspension of the Director General of the...
No, it is a call. I just want to lay the foundation because the news have gone viral that the list submitted by Labour Party was forged, that the judgments was obtained fraudulently. I'm the first appellant in that case. I'm a lawyer in that case, so I know the history of the case. That's why I wanted to dispel those rumors so that people get to know the facts before we go to the areas of suspension. Now, the acting national publicity was the one the national leadership asked to handle the primaries of the National Assembly in Lagos. And he was a party that instituted action when the Labour Party could not offload their names on the 15th of June.
You mean Comrade Ayo Arabambi?
Arabambi. So he was part of the suit. But what he didn't handle the suit with all this dispatch as expected, and the court dismissed it. So I took up the responsibility on behalf of the public to go to the Court of Appeal, and we got a judgment, which is a landmark judgment. Invariably, the Court of Appeal agreed with us that virtue of the Section 29 sub 1 of the Electoral Act, INEC shouldn't have shot their server less than 180 days to the election. Now, going back to your questions concerning the suspension on it, it's internal. Every party has its own constitution, and in the internal affairs of the party, if any party member go contrary to the constitution, they have the right for disciplinary procedure. And if that takes place, it becomes a party affair. It has to be an internal affairs of the party. Then, second aspect, I want to say, why did the Ogun State suspend Dr. Doyin Okukbe as the Director General for P2B campaign organization? First of all, it is a prerogative of the presidential candidate to nominate whosoever he wants to be his Director General. He must not be a member of the party. Being a member of a party is an advantage, an addendum, but it is a prerogative of the presidential candidate, which he did. And secondly, when it comes to discipline of party members, the first place to start is the ward level. No, the ward level is the basis. And the ward, what happened, if I earn in my own ward, I'm from ward F3, Okota, Lagos here, it is the ward chairman that will call me and set up a panel to look at the areas that are acted against the party's interests. Then I will be given a fair hearing. I have to appear before the panel and answer questions where it's necessary. Then if they are not comfortable with it, and the 6 that are acted contrary to the party, they will recommend to the national leadership. So it is arbitrarily and laughable for a group of gentlemen to come together and say, we have expelled you from the party, we have expunged you from the party, you have no right to be in the party, and you cannot come back to the party.
Now, you laid a foundation as to the process of expelling any member from a party or discipline. We'll come to the issues raised, but is that to say, because I would expect, for instance, if that action started from the ward level, there will be there should be some form of concurrence at the state level. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Now, so are you saying that that whole idea of suspension of Dr. Okukwe did not at all originate from the ward?
No, but you can see if it started from the ward level, they would have made a pronouncement that he was invited at the ward level. But if you look at the excerpt of the document, you couldn't see it. They said the state chairman and the acting national public suspends. There was no ward level chairman in that meeting.
But they also mentioned the fact that they had some consultations, personal consultations with Dr. Okukwe, but nothing happened.
Now you can't have even at that. They can't take that decision. They don't have the right to expel a member. Expelling a member from a political party, it's a national issue. It has to come to NWC.
But you said it starts from the ward level.
It starts on the ward level, and it has to be a recommendation from the ward level. We have found this member acting contrary to the constitution of the party. They will make the recommendation, which we push to the state, and the state will push it to the national level. So it can't come, two people can't gang up together and say, we have expelled you because we don't like your face. Or if I have a personal grudges with you, I expel you from the party. It's never done that way.
Speak to the issues raised in that, should I say, suspension notice given to Dr. Okukwe, that his financial commitments to the party was questionable.
Well, they didn't say that they raised that issue to the Donyo Okukwe, and I'm sure if he had raised it to the Donyo Okukwe, he would have an answer. That's what I'm talking about. You know, justice
has there been any consultation with the gentlemen involved that you talk about in Ogun State? Has there been any conversation with them concerning, you know, the issues they raised and the purported suspension, as you put it?
No, not to my knowledge, because the decision was taken arbitrarily by the acting National Publicity Secretary and the state chairman. They didn't consult anybody.
National Publicity Secretary, he's also being accused of working against, sabotaging the candidature of the Ogun State governorship candidate of the Labour Party, and indeed some other candidates of the Labour Party at the National Assembly and State Assembly levels in the Labour Party. Is that correct?
Now, there are two ways to it, which are the Ogun State, he is a leader in the Ogun State. And arbitrarily, every leader of a political party, your primus inter primus, is to ensure that you have candidates for the national election. That is your job. And whereby he did not present candidate for the national election, it puts his leadership in question. And that is why the national leadership of the party has said, no, you are a leader in the party and you could not produce candidate for the general election. So who is leading who? So that's why it was called no. First of all, charity begins at home. You must tell me that if I'm a leader in Lagos State and I don't have candidates in the National Assembly, I don't have gubernatorial candidates, I don't have House of Representatives, then it means that my leadership is in question. So it is based on that the national leadership has said no, Mr. Rabambi, you are a leader in Ogun State. You don't have candidates for gubernatorial election. The cases are being prosecuted and not prosecuted daily. What is the question? Come on and give us an answer to it.
What do you think is the problem? Why do you think he's been complacent at his job?
Well, I can answer for him. I think he had been here before, so when he comes, he'll be in the right frame of mind to say exactly what happened. But I can't answer for him. But what I know is that the party leadership said, no, you have not done well, and that's why we're giving you caution. Go and do the right thing. Then you come back.
At the time when the elections are barely 100, less than 100
days, 80 days
less than 80 days, to the elections, the general elections, and the most popular person on your party's platform is the presidential candidate. Not much has been heard of many governorship or legislative assembly, state or federal assembly members altogether. And then these issues come up from time to time, like some kind of poison in the soup or something like that. So one is wondering, how significant are these pockets of, should I call them distractions, to the entire campaign?
Well, you must understand that even in your family there's disagreement.
Yeah, I knew you would say that.
Popular line of politics, right?
Naturally.
No, I'm giving you an
just
answer.
a second, yes, you know that, I mean, for the Labour Party, it's quite dicey now. It's not as established as those other, two other parties over time. So one is wondering, how significant are these? Because if the Labour Party cannot fine-tune its own home, how can you fine-tune Nigeria?
Where homes are in good shape. Definitely, if you have one deviant one way or the other, that's making it. If you're in a family,
these deviants come up from time to time,
No, that is why, let me give you a proverb in my place. My grandmother told me that if I want you to behave like me, I remain an island. Therefore, I expect people from different views, diversion, interests, and to come up. The ability to manage it is what makes you a leader. And Labour Party, we have been able to manage our differences. We have been able to push ahead because this is the best time for Nigeria. We have the best of the presidential candidate. Who is willing to move Nigeria from a consumption to a production nation? Who is willing to bring in leadership, quality leadership? And that's what we need in Nigeria. So we don't want few people, because there must be a bad egg at one point. We don't want people to distract us. We are focused. We are moving ahead. And you can see...
Comrade, okay.
Yes, sir.
Your cases at the court,
yes.
for which has now been subject to
judgment,
dispute
yes.
within the party now. Don't you think they have more to do with the fact that, members of the Labour Party got on the train a bit late when they realized that, the popularity of the party was increasing based on the emergence, the entry of your presidential candidate into the scheme of things, and by that time, the window, for submission of forms, declaration of interest had begun to, sort of close. So don't you think that's more to do with, the reason you have these cases at the courts rather than the dispute over, the contention of rivalry between certain members of the party?
No, if you get to court, if you go to, I'm a litigator, I'm a litigation lawyer, if you go to court, you see thousands of cases in all the parties. Thousands. Even the day the decision was taken on my own case in this 18th of November, 3 other decisions in the Court of Appeal was against other primaries. So this is a time for litigations on pre-election matters. So it's all over across the party line. It is not really peculiar to Labour Party. But when I say we have been able to manage, that's what we succeeded to have National Assembly candidate for. And let me make a point here, because the decision of the Federal Court of Appeal on Section 29 software is a landmark decision. It's a landmark. I know. Sure, it will be published in Nigerian Weekly Law Report, because it says, yes, INEC, you have the right for regulation of the guideline for the elections, but it must be subject to Section 29, sub 1 of the Act. In other words, means all the people that were excluded because they didn't fit into that period still have the right to go to INEC. Said, by virtue of this decision, you have to take our names as a candidate of the party. So it's a landmark decision which I'm sure that will go a long way to liberate submissions on them.
So the count starts from that time that INEC
rejected. Yes,
not necessarily from less than 90
from
days
the time.
election.
Okay, now this is where we are now, Mr. One is wondering, the campaign is going the way it is. There are those who are saying, hey, this campaign of the Labour Party is only running on gas, on a fluke. But once power comes, once there is some form of establishment within the system, there's going to be a lot of instability, because the structures that are holding the Labour Party right now are not very, very strong. Strong enough to bear any success.
No, it is, because when the head is correct, the body will be equally correct. And you can understand in Kenya, Ruto came on board just like Peter is emerging, and he won, and he's going to do excellently well. We get the head correct. Once the head is correct, the body is equally correct. So we are bent on, we are willing, and we are pushing forward winning the 2023 election. And by the time Mr. emerge come February 25th, 2019, we are putting Nigeria on the right track. And we are getting to get the structure be perfect. We have the best hand to handle it. And Peter is on the cruising. We are cruising to victory by the grace of God.
As Bukola said, it's the line of politicians. And when you say that the head, once you have the head correct, don't forget that the head is supplied blood from the heart. And that perhaps is the part.
The head cannot be.
You don't need to respond to that one. Okay, Joe Onuakalusi is a member, Labour Party's legal team. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure
for being a part of our conversation.
And delighted to meet you.
And let's hope that Comrade Arabambi will be on Sunrise Daily, to come.
I'll be glad to meet him anytime if he's here. He's my friend.
Okay, I guess, well, that is it. You really shouldn't talk anymore after we have signed you up. well, just 1 or 2 messages from you, and then here is a mail from Dixon Eka about the lingering fuel scarcity. It says, something is fundamentally wrong with the fuel supply in Nigeria, and that's definitely due to monumental corruption. The NNPC Limited knows exactly what to do, but they're not doing it. Massive fuel supply must be ensured before the heat of Christmas under interim, while modular refineries should be allowed to operate to reduce our suffering. It's crazy how we're suffering to get fuel and the consequences on the economy.
Suffering is the qualification. That's why Ayo kept mentioning NNPC.
Exactly.
Well, this one is from Professor Charles, and he says, NNPC should be sincere and resolve the issue rather than road construction as the cause for the PMS scarcity. Nigerian government should consider the interest of the masses in their decisions because government cannot exist without the people.
NNPC might just see Ayo and their dream one of these days. Well, take a look at this tweet from Festus. He says, what happens to FG's auto gas program? Millions of vehicles run on auto gas, and Nigerians should benefit from this clean and cheap energy. Moving to auto gas will eliminate the incessant fuel shortage in the country.
Well, I know that they had a plan, so big question, what happened to that plan? Professor Nakina says until PIB is implemented to unbundle the oil sector, oil theft will not cease. The oil sector must be deregulated or in the least public and private partnerships so that every channel of oil theft is curtailed. This is part of systemic corruption in the oil sector.
Yeah, there you go. That ends the show today, and we'd like to end how we started with Ayo's message, drive to arrive alive. Thank you for watching. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.
Do you have a great Monday and a great week ahead? Thank you. I'm Maokwe Ogun-Yusuf.
Well, we thank you for sharing your day with us. Join us again tomorrow for another interesting edition. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
And don't also forget the last line of the pledge. So help me God. I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful rest of your day.